I'm going to go through the books that I've read this year because I've read some cracking books and I got a lot for Christmas and for my birthday, 6th of February. Yeah, you're late, it's whatever. I'm just gonna go through my like hard copy books at the moment. These are them. Thumbnail. Is that good? And then I also read some of my Kindle too, but I'll probably go through those maybe a little bit later. But let's start off with the first book I read this year. I did start this probably in the last couple of days of December, and it's called Fear by Robert Peckham. A book that I think came out as, you know, news on the pandemic was quietening down, everyone was kind of back to living a normal life, and its catchline is an alternate history of the world. Kind of a perfect way to describe it. He talks about the history of the world through different major events that, you know, created fear among the population. So for example, he talks about climate change, geopolitical conflict, he talks about like the plague, things that were happening through that, he talks about slavery, and he kind of talks about how different social factors were created through these moments. Highly recommend. Oh, brilliant book, I don't know. I think there were definitely parts where it was a bit yappy, he yapped, but a lot of it was really well researched and really well worded. And so I understand why a lot of the information he put in there was necessary for the point that he was making. I recommend if you're interested in, you know, learning about world history. This is like maybe the next physical book that I read, and it's called Curse Bunny by Bora, Chung. Brilliant. The best book I have read this year so far. It is a compilation of short stories and it's all magical realism, so it's just the most randomest shit happening to people. It's just brilliant. I've never read anything like this that has been so captivating. I really appreciate a short story when someone can just, you know, get it over and done with and have a fully fleshed out plot that you're invested in and you want to hear more about, and then just ends and you're like, oh, true. I'll read you like a bit of the blurb. A woman is haunted by her own bodily waste. A pregnant woman is told that she must find a father for her unborn baby or face horrific consequences. A young monster forced to fight discovers the extent of his power. Brilliant. Please read it. Super short. Kind of a sick cover. Okay, I think one of the next books I read was And Every Morning the Way Home Gets Longer and Longer by Fredrick Backman. This is actually a novella, and I read 2 of his books last year. I read A Man Called Ove and Anxious People. Anxious People was probably my favorite book that I read last year. That's how much I loved it. But this novella kind of talks about, kind of dissects the subject of Alzheimer's, the people who deal with it and the people around them that love them, watching them deal with it. Well, not deal with it, but, you know, cope in this, you know, move through it together. Oh, it's brilliant. Highly recommend if you just want something short. I feel like this is something that could get people back into reading as well. Oh, hello. Come on. Bro, I swear to God, if he does a wee. One of the next books that I read was The Woman Destroyed by Simone de Beauvoir. She is a French feminist author. She wrote articles and articles. She wrote many books, and these are 3 short stories compiled into obviously one book. First of all, cover, gorge, love it. I studied de Beauvoir in uni, but I've never obviously read like a short story compilation of hers. And I mean, this year, as you can probably tell, I've wanted to read a lot more short stories. There's one chapter, or sorry, there's one story that is literally a monologue, and quote at the very start is, "The monologue is her form of revenge." So fascinating to read. Highly recommend. Talks about different relationships that women have in their lives and how those relationships make them feel, and how crazy she feels herself going in her head when really the circumstance might just be a bit fucked. Like the very last story that's called The Woman Destroyed. Get me in a room with that husband, I'll fight. Anyway, next books I read is called 2023 A Year of Consequence by The Conversation, and it's a compilation of essays. It talks about different international affairs that occurred throughout the year, and a lot of Australian ones as well. I think they have a whole section part 1 is called A Consequential Decision for the Nation, which talks about the no vote, which unfortunately occurred in Australia last year. Yeah, really informative and short read, digestible, and it's a good way to kind of get up to speed with what's happened in the past year and conflicts that have been continuing. since before last year and this year as well. The next book I read, I'll probably talk about, is The Blackwater Lightship, an Irish author. I don't know how to say his last name, but I will put it up on the screen. A really solid book. It talks about 3 women and their relationship, so it's a daughter, a mother and a grandmother, about their relationship that they have while the daughter's brother, so the mum's son, is dying of AIDS in the 90s in Ireland. The words that are used really just makes you feel like you are by the sea, experiencing some kind of melancholic situation. I actually really want to read more of his work after reading this. It was great. And the last book that I'm going to talk about today, right now, is Time is a Mother by Vuong. This was beautiful. Compilation of poems Vuong did On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous, which I read a couple of years ago. Also brilliant. Touches on like a relationship between a mother and a son. And it talks about the generational trauma of war as well. Poetry collection kind of explores the grief that Vuong felt after his mother passed away. For probably the first half of the book, I was underlining something every page. This line from a poem called The Last Prom Queen in Antarctica on page 29 of this version, it's hardcover. I want to take care of our planet because I need a beautiful graveyard. Like, who thinks of things like that? Or this one here, The Last Dinosaur on page 23. After weeks of drought, I walked through my brother's laughter just to feel the rain. This one from a poem called Snow Theory on page 5. How else do we return to ourselves but to fold the page so it points to the good part? How do people think of that? And I also love the opening quote of the book. It's, "Forgive me, Lord, I've died so little." Brilliant. I really recommend it. It's short, and I think some of them I found a bit hard to digest. I couldn't really understand them, but a lot of the poems I thought were just really special. And so if you're looking to get into poetry, this might be a good start for you. So yeah, that's all I have for now. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll be back soon with my Kindle books as well, and other books that I've probably forgotten. Bye for now.